Ann Arbor, Michigan, the college town that became America's innovation playground. Picture this. It's 1824, and two land speculators named John Allen and Elisha Rumsey are standing in the middle of what would become one of America's most influential small cities. They're looking at rolling hills, oak groves, and the Huron River winding through pristine wilderness. What they couldn't have imagined was that their modest settlement would eventually become the birthplace of everything from the birth control pill to Google's PageRank algorithm, home to a university that would shape presidents and Nobel laureates, and a place where intellectual curiosity meets Midwestern charm in ways that continue to surprise the world. The story of Ann Arbor begins with a problem that plagued early Michigan. How do you build a thriving community in the frontier when you're competing with established eastern cities for settlers and investment? Allen and Rumsey had a clever solution. They named their town after their wives, both named Ann, and the natural arbors of oak trees surrounding the area. But more importantly, they made a calculated gamble that would change everything. They invested heavily in education and cultural institutions from the very beginning, believing that intellectual capital would prove more valuable than natural resources or manufacturing capabilities. The early settlers faced brutal winters, limited transportation options, and the constant challenge of building civilization in the wilderness. Supply lines from Detroit were unreliable, especially during winter months when roads became impassable. The solution came through community cooperation and innovative resource sharing. Families pooled resources for large purchases, shared tools and equipment, and developed a barn-raising culture that created strong social bonds while accomplishing necessary work. This cooperative spirit would become a defining characteristic of Ann Arbor throughout its history. Hey there, knowledge seekers and city enthusiasts. Welcome back to Town Tales, where we dive deep into the stories that shaped America's most fascinating places. If you're loving these deep dives into American cities, make sure to smash that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell, because we're building the most comprehensive library of American city stories on YouTube. And if this video teaches you something new about Ann Arbor, show some love with a like and share it with someone who appreciates great storytelling about great places. We're going long form today because Ann Arbor's story deserves the full treatment. When Michigan achieved statehood in 1837, the new state government needed to choose a location for its university. Detroit seemed like the obvious choice as the largest city, but Ann Arbor's founders had been quietly lobbying and preparing. They offered 40 acres of land for free, and more importantly, they had created a community atmosphere that valued education and intellectual pursuits. The University of Michigan was established in Ann Arbor that same year, and with it came a transformation that would define the city's character for nearly 2 centuries. The early relationship between town and gown wasn't always smooth. In the 1840s and 1850s, there were frequent tensions between the permanent residents and the university community. Townspeople complained about rowdy students disrupting church services, damaging property during celebrations, and driving up prices for basic goods. University officials worried about the moral influences of taverns, gambling establishments, and other entertainment venues that catered to young men with limited supervision. These tensions came to a head during the infamous Honey War of 1856, when a dispute over a local merchant's pricing policies led to a 3-day standoff between students and townspeople. The solution came in the form of progressive leadership that recognized the symbiotic relationship between the city and university. Mayor William Maynard, elected in 1851, implemented a series of innovative policies that addressed concerns from both communities. He established joint committees with university representatives to address common issues, created separate entertainment districts to contain nightlife activities, and implemented fair pricing regulations that protected both consumers and merchants. Rather than fighting the connection between town and university, Ann Arbor embraced it, becoming one of the first American cities to fully integrate its identity with its educational institution. The Civil War period brought unique challenges and opportunities to Ann Arbor. The university became a training ground for military officers and doctors, while the city's position along the Michigan Central Railroad made it a crucial supply line for Union forces. Local industries expanded rapidly to meet wartime demands, with everything from uniforms to medical supplies being produced in hastily converted workshops and factories. The city's population swelled with workers, families of soldiers, and refugees from border states, creating housing shortages and social tensions. But the real transformation came in the post-war period when returning veterans used their educational benefits to attend the university, bringing a new level of diversity and ambition to the community. These veterans were older, more serious about their studies, and often brought families with them. This demographic shift changed everything from housing patterns to local business needs. The city responded by developing new residential areas specifically designed for married students and young families, creating a model that would influence university town planning across the country. The late 1800s saw Ann Arbor grappling with rapid growth and modernization challenges that would have overwhelmed many smaller communities. The city faced typical problems of the era: inadequate sanitation systems that led to cholera and typhoid outbreaks, limited public health infrastructure, and growing pains from population expansion. The summer of 1887 brought a particularly severe cholera epidemic that killed dozens of residents and threatened to derail the city's growth entirely. The solution came through progressive municipal leadership and unprecedented university-city partnership. Dr. Victor Vaughn, dean of the university's medical school, worked directly with city officials to implement comprehensive public health reforms. Together, they developed some of the Midwest's most advanced water treatment and sewer systems, established public health monitoring programs, and created sanitation standards that became models for other communities. By 1890, Ann Arbor had one of the lowest disease rates of any comparable American city, and its public health innovations were being studied and copied across the region. During this period, Ann Arbor also became known for its forward-thinking approach to social issues that were dividing communities across America. The university was among the first major institutions to admit women to all programs, not just traditional fields like teaching and nursing. This decision sparked fierce debate both locally and nationally, with critics arguing that higher education would make women unfit for marriage and motherhood. The city itself developed a reputation for tolerance and intellectual freedom that attracted progressive thinkers from across the country. But this wasn't without controversy, as conservative elements within both the city and university pushed back against rapid social changes. The tensions came to a head during the 1885 Great Debate over women's education, when nationally prominent speakers on both sides of the issue descended on Ann Arbor for a series of public forums. The city handled these contentious events with remarkable sophistication, providing security for all speakers while allowing open debate and discussion. The success of these forums established Ann Arbor's reputation as a place where difficult social questions could be addressed through reasoned discourse rather than violence or suppression. The early 1900s brought the automobile age to Ann Arbor in dramatic fashion. While Detroit became the center of auto manufacturing, Ann Arbor became a testing ground for automotive innovation and safety research. The university's engineering programs partnered with major automakers to develop everything from improved brake systems to early research on automotive safety. Henry Ford himself was a frequent visitor to the university, recruiting graduates and consulting with professors on technical challenges. The city itself became a living laboratory for the transition from horse-drawn to motorized transportation. Ann Arbor was among the first cities to develop comprehensive traffic regulations, install traffic signals, and create designated parking areas. The famous rules of the road developed by the Ann Arbor Police Department in 1908 became a model adopted by cities across the Midwest. This wasn't just bureaucratic innovation. It was a practical response to the chaos that ensued when horses, bicycles, pedestrians, and automobiles all shared the same streets without clear guidelines. The transformation of transportation also revolutionized local commerce and social life. The State Street Commercial District emerged during this period, with businesses specifically designed to serve automobile owners and their families. Gas stations, automobile repair shops, and drive-in restaurants created a new economic sector, while the increased mobility allowed residents to live farther from the university while still participating in community life. This suburban expansion pattern, pioneered in Ann Arbor, would later influence urban development across America. Food culture in Ann Arbor during this era reflected its increasingly diverse population and the city's connection to broader American trends. German immigrants brought traditional beer gardens and hearty cuisine that became popular with university students and faculty. The famous Metzger's German restaurant, established in 1905, became a community institution where town and gown mixed over sauerbraten and German beer. Italian families opened restaurants and grocery stores that introduced the broader community to pasta, olive oil, and wine culture decades before these became mainstream in American dining. The university community introduced more cosmopolitan dining options, with professors and their families sharing culinary traditions from their home regions and foreign travels. Tea rooms catering to faculty wives became important social centers, while boarding houses developed competitive dining programs to attract the most desirable student residents. The famous Zingerman's Delicatessen, which would later become a national phenomenon, traces its culinary philosophy to this period of innovation and cultural exchange, though the actual establishment wouldn't open until much later. Local agriculture also adapted to serve the university community's sophisticated tastes. Farmers in surrounding Washtenaw County began growing specialized crops like herbs, exotic vegetables, and fruit varieties that commanded premium prices from university households. The Saturday Farmers Market, which began informally during this period, became a meeting place where rural producers connected directly with urban consumers, creating economic relationships that benefited both communities. The Great Depression hit Ann Arbor differently than many American cities, creating unique challenges and opportunities. While the university provided some economic stability, the city still faced significant hardships. Unemployment rose as local businesses closed, student enrollment declined as families could no longer afford tuition, and social tensions increased as competition for limited resources intensified. The winter of 1932 to 33 was particularly harsh, with homeless families camping in university buildings and city parks. The response was characteristically innovative and collaborative. The city and university developed joint programs that put unemployed residents to work on infrastructure projects while providing valuable improvements to both communities. The famous Burton Memorial Tower, completed in 1936, became a symbol of this resilience and forward-thinking partnership. The project employed dozens of local craftsmen, used materials from regional suppliers, and created a landmark that served both university and community needs. Perhaps more importantly, Ann Arbor pioneered approaches to economic diversification during the Depression that would influence its development for decades. Rather than simply waiting for better times, community leaders actively recruited new industries, supported entrepreneurship, and invested in infrastructure improvements that would position the city for future growth. The Ann Arbor Railroad, rebuilt during this period with federal assistance, improved transportation connections that proved crucial for post-war expansion. Social programs developed during the Depression also became permanent features of Ann Arbor's community landscape. The city's approach to unemployment assistance, public health services, and housing support became models studied by other university communities. The Community Fund, established in 1934, created a coordinated approach to charitable giving and social services that eliminated duplication while ensuring comprehensive coverage of community needs. World War II transformed Ann Arbor into a research powerhouse with national significance. The university's contributions to the Manhattan Project and radar development brought federal funding, national attention, and an influx of scientists and researchers who would permanently change the city's character. The Willow Run Laboratory, though located in nearby Ypsilanti, drew many researchers who chose to live in Ann Arbor, appreciating its intellectual atmosphere and cultural amenities. The city itself became a center for wartime research and development, with local industries retooling for military production. The Hoover Steel Ball Company switched from producing bearings for automobiles to precision components for aircraft and weapon systems. Local machine shops worked around the clock producing parts for military equipment, while the university's laboratories developed everything from improved explosives to communication equipment. The influx of researchers, scientists, and their families changed the demographic composition and cultural atmosphere permanently. These newcomers brought different perspectives, higher education levels, and connections to national and international intellectual communities. The city's restaurants, bookstores, and cultural institutions adapted to serve this more sophisticated clientele, creating a cosmopolitan atmosphere that would become one of Ann Arbor's defining characteristics. One of the most remarkable aspects of wartime Ann Arbor was the community's response to rationing and resource conservation. The city developed innovative programs for recycling, community gardens, and resource sharing that became models for other university towns across the country. The famous Victory Garden program turned vacant lots throughout the city into productive agricultural space, while organized carpooling and bicycle repair programs helped residents cope with gasoline and rubber shortages. These initiatives weren't just about supporting the war effort. They reflected a deeper commitment to community cooperation and environmental stewardship that would characterize Ann Arbor for decades to come. The wartime experience of shared sacrifice and collective problem-solving created social bonds and civic attitudes that influenced post-war development patterns and community decision-making processes. The post-war boom years brought unprecedented growth and change that tested Ann Arbor's ability to maintain its character while accommodating rapid expansion. Returning veterans flooded the university under the GI Bill, creating housing shortages, classroom overcrowding, and infrastructure challenges that threatened to overwhelm the city's resources. Enrollment jumped from pre-war levels of around 10,000 students to over 25,000 by 1948, with most of the increase consisting of older, married veterans with families. The city responded with ambitious expansion plans that required careful balancing of growth and preservation. New residential developments were planned to serve different segments of the expanding population, from temporary housing for veteran families to permanent neighborhoods for faculty and staff. The famous Hill Street shopping district emerged during this period, creating a unique blend of college town charm and sophisticated retail that became a model for other university communities. Infrastructure improvements during this period laid the foundation for Ann Arbor's modern development patterns. The city invested heavily in water and sewer systems, electrical grid improvements, and road expansions that could accommodate both immediate needs and future growth. The decision to build excess capacity into these systems proved prescient, as continued growth through the 1950s and 1960s would have been impossible without this forward-thinking infrastructure investment. Cultural institutions also expanded and evolved to serve the growing community. The University Musical Society increased its programming and moved to larger venues, while new organizations emerged to serve different cultural needs. The Ann Arbor Civic Theater, established in 1946, provided opportunities for community participation in the arts while also offering entertainment options for the expanding population. Climate and geography played crucial roles in shaping Ann Arbor's development throughout its history, influencing everything from architectural styles to recreational activities and economic patterns. The city's location in southeastern Michigan provided 4 distinct seasons that created both challenges and opportunities. Harsh winters required substantial investments in heating, snow removal, and winter-appropriate infrastructure, while beautiful summers made outdoor activities and festivals central to community life. The Huron River, which had initially attracted the city's founders, became increasingly central to the community's identity and development patterns. The river provided water for early industries, transportation routes for commerce, and recreational opportunities for residents. However, it also created challenges through periodic flooding and pollution from urban runoff. The city's response to these challenges pioneered integrated watershed management approaches that balanced development needs with environmental protection. The river corridor became the backbone of Ann Arbor's park system, with miles of trails, recreation areas, and natural preserves that provided high-quality amenities while also managing flood control and environmental protection. The famous Huron River Drive, developed in the 1920s and 1930s, became a scenic corridor that showcased the city's natural beauty while providing transportation connections between different neighborhoods. Seasonal patterns influenced local business cycles, social activities, and cultural traditions in ways that shaped community identity. Winter brought university basketball season, indoor cultural programming, and the unique challenges of maintaining community connections during months of limited outdoor activity. Spring brought the famous Ann Arbor Art Fair and other outdoor festivals that drew visitors from across the region. Summer provided opportunities for outdoor recreation, community gardens, and a relaxed pace that made Ann Arbor attractive to families and retirees. The 1960s brought social upheaval and transformation to Ann Arbor that was perhaps more dramatic than anywhere else in the Midwest. The university became a center of anti-war activism, civil rights organizing, and counterculture movements that challenged traditional social norms and political assumptions. The city found itself navigating complex tensions between conservative townspeople, progressive activists, university administrators trying to maintain institutional stability, and national forces that were reshaping American society. The famous student protests of 1965 to 1972 put Ann Arbor on a national map as a center of social change and political activism. The October 1969 Vietnam moratorium brought over 30,000 protesters to the city, making it one of the largest anti-war demonstrations in the Midwest. The city's response to these events required delicate balancing of free speech rights, public safety concerns, and community relations that tested local leadership and democratic institutions. Rather than simply suppressing activism or allowing chaos, Ann Arbor pioneered approaches to managing social conflict that became models for other university communities. Police Chief Walter Krasny developed community policing strategies that emphasized de-escalation, communication, and respect for constitutional rights while maintaining public order. These approaches helped Ann Arbor avoid the violent confrontations that plagued other university communities during the era, while still allowing space for legitimate protest and social change. The famous Hash Bash, an annual marijuana legalization rally that began in 1972, exemplified Ann Arbor's unique position at the intersection of activism, academia, and evolving social norms. The event grew out a 1972 city ordinance that reduced penalties for marijuana possession to a $5 fine, making Ann Arbor's policies among the most liberal in the nation. The annual rally became both a political statement and a community celebration that drew participants from across the region. These social movements also transformed local culture, business, and lifestyle patterns in lasting ways. Vegetarian restaurants, natural food stores, and alternative lifestyle businesses emerged to serve the counterculture community. The famous People's Food Co-op, established in 1971, became a community institution that promoted organic agriculture, cooperative ownership, and alternative economic relationships. Folk music venues, alternative newspapers, and experimental arts organizations created a cultural ecosystem that supported creative expression and social experimentation. The economic challenges of the 1970s forced Ann Arbor to diversify beyond its dependence on the university and traditional manufacturing, creating opportunities for innovation and entrepreneurship that would define the city's future development. The oil crises of 1973 and 1979 hit Michigan's automobile-dependent economy particularly hard, while inflation and recession reduced university funding and local business revenues. The city actively courted technology companies, research firms, and service industries that could take advantage of university resources while providing employment opportunities for graduates who wanted to remain in the community. This strategy paid off dramatically as the information age emerged, with Ann Arbor becoming one of the first cities to recognize and capitalize on the economic potential of knowledge-based industries. Companies like Domino's Pizza, founded by Tom Monahan in nearby Ypsilanti in 1960, expanded their operations through Ann Arbor during this period, taking advantage of the university community's acceptance of innovative business models and the large student market for convenient food delivery. The company's success demonstrated how local entrepreneurs could build national businesses by starting in a unique Ann Arbor market environment. Research and development firms also began locating in Ann Arbor during the 1970s, attracted by access to university researchers, graduate students, and a high quality of life that made it easier to recruit talented employees. These companies created employment opportunities for university graduates while also providing consulting and research services to larger corporations based elsewhere. The technology sector emergence in Ann Arbor predated the broader American technology boom by nearly a decade. The university's early investments in computer science, engineering, and telecommunications research created a foundation of expertise and infrastructure that proved crucial when the information economy began expanding rapidly in the 1980s and 1990s. Ann Arbor's food scene exploded during the 1980s and 1990s, reflecting both the international diversity of the university community and growing sophistication in American dining culture. This transformation wasn't just about restaurants. It represented a broader change in how the community thought about food, culture, and local economic development. Zingerman's Delicatessen, founded by Ari Weinzweig and Paul Saginaw in 1982, became not just a local institution, but a national destination that pioneered artisanal food retail and community-focused business practices. The founders' commitment to high-quality products, employee ownership, and community engagement created a business model that influenced food entrepreneurs across the country. Their success demonstrated how Ann Arbor's educated, affluent population could support businesses that prioritize quality and authenticity over low prices and convenience. The Saturday Farmers Market downtown became one of the Midwest's premier destinations for local and organic produce, reflecting the community's early embrace of sustainable agriculture and local food systems. The market grew from a small gathering of local farmers to a major regional attraction that drew vendors and customers from across southeastern Michigan. This growth reflected changing attitudes about food production, environmental sustainability, and the importance of supporting local economic relationships. International cuisine also flourished during this period as the university's global connections brought students, faculty, and visitors from around the world. Restaurants serving authentic Thai, Indian, Middle Eastern, and other international cuisines opened to serve these communities, but quickly gained broader popularity among local residents. This international dining scene became one of Ann Arbor's most distinctive features, offering culinary experiences typically available only in much larger cities. Local food production also evolved to serve the community's sophisticated tastes and environmental concerns. Urban farming initiatives, community-supported agriculture programs, and specialty food producers created a local food system that emphasized sustainability, quality, and community connections. These initiatives weren't just about food. They represented broader values around environmental stewardship, economic localization, and community self-reliance that became central to Ann Arbor's identity. Education innovation continued to be a hallmark of Ann Arbor throughout the late 20th century, with the city's public schools developing programs that leverage university resources while maintaining their independence and serving the diverse needs of the community. This collaboration created educational opportunities that few American cities could match, while also addressing the practical challenges of serving a population that included faculty children, working-class families, and international students. The community high school, established in 1972, became a national model for alternative education that emphasized student choice, interdisciplinary learning, and community engagement. The school's innovative curriculum allowed students to pursue independent study projects, work directly with university researchers, and participate in community service learning that connected academic work with real-world applications. This experimental approach to education reflected the community's broader commitment to innovation and progressive approaches to social challenges. The city's elementary and middle schools also developed distinctive programs that took advantage of Ann Arbor's unique resources. Environmental education programs used the Huron River and local parks as outdoor classrooms, while partnerships with university departments provided access to advanced science equipment and expert instruction. Language immersion programs reflected the community's international connections, while arts education benefited from collaboration with university music, theater, and visual arts programs. These educational innovations weren't just about providing superior academic opportunities. They were also about creating community connections and shared values that strengthened social cohesion. Students from different socioeconomic backgrounds learned together, parents from different communities collaborated on school programs, and the entire community benefited from having highly educated young people who understood both local history and global perspectives. Sports culture in Ann Arbor centers around University of Michigan athletics, but particularly football at the legendary Michigan Stadium, known as the Big House. With a capacity exceeding 107,000, it's one of the largest stadiums in the world, and game days transform the entire city in ways that few other sporting events match anywhere in America. The economic impact of Michigan football extends far beyond ticket sales and concessions. Game day weekends bring hundreds of thousands of visitors to Ann Arbor, filling hotels, restaurants, and retail establishments throughout the region. Local businesses plan their entire year around the football schedule, with many generating a substantial portion of their annual revenue during the 6 or 7 home games each season. But the cultural impact may be even more significant than the economic benefits. Michigan football provides a shared identity and common experience that brings together the diverse elements of the Ann Arbor community. Alumni from across the country return for games, creating connections between past and present that strengthen the community's sense of continuity and tradition. The logistical challenges of managing game day crowds have forced the city to develop sophisticated systems for transportation, crowd control, and emergency services that serve the community well during other large events. The experience of moving over 100,000 people safely and efficiently has created expertise and infrastructure that benefits the entire community year-round. Other University of Michigan sports also contribute to community identity and local economy, though on a smaller scale. Basketball games at Chrysler Arena provide winter entertainment and community gathering opportunities, while hockey games draw passionate crowds despite the sport's niche appeal. The university's Olympic sports, including swimming, track and field, and wrestling, often feature world-class competition that provides high-quality entertainment while showcasing Ann Arbor to national and international audiences. The technology boom of the 1990s and 2000s positioned Ann Arbor as a significant player in the information economy, building on decades of university research and community investment in knowledge-based industries. The city's early recognition of technology's economic potential, combined with its advantages in education and quality of life, created conditions for sustained growth in high-tech industries. University research in computer science, engineering, and business created a pipeline of innovation and entrepreneurship that produced both breakthrough technologies and skilled workers. The university's early investments in internet infrastructure, computer networks, and digital research made Ann Arbor one of the most connected cities in America during the early days of the internet revolution. Google founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin developed key concepts for their search algorithm, while Page was a graduate student at the University of Michigan, though they completed their work and founded the company at Stanford. This connection to one of the world's most successful technology companies became a source of community pride and a powerful recruiting tool for attracting other technology entrepreneurs and companies to Ann Arbor. Local technology companies also emerged during this period, taking advantage of university research, educated workforce, and supportive community environment. These companies range from software development,